Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've come to this week's X-Men and Spider-Man books. Now it's on to this week's Avengers titles, as well as the first issue of the new Ghost Rider series. Kicking things off, however, we've got Black Widow, number 14. Where we left off, in issue 12, Black Widow and her team were at a gala in San Francisco, and basically trying to look for intel on the recently defeated enemy Apogee. And acting on intel from new allies, the twins. However, Black Widow ran into an old enemy of hers, the Living Blade. Issue 13 went into detailed their first run-in with one another. Anyway, so the issue begins with Natasha and Living Blade fighting, and Natasha telling Yelena to run. Natasha manages to escape, but only just. Meanwhile, Anya, Lucy, and now also Hawkeye have all been captured, as have the twins. While Anya and Lucy are trying to figure a way out, the twins are, well, they're kind of negging the entire situation. Outside the gala, Yelena meets with Bucky, basically saying, hey, yeah, shit's gone sideways, we're on plan F, basically. But Natasha does a little bit of gathers some information, discovers that the person running the gala is in fact basically renegotiating her deal with the Living Blade on the fly, which he's not too fond of. Yelena and Bucky then do what they can to evacuate the gala. Anya and Lucy make a suggestion to the twins. They share their strength. What if one of them took all their strength? And but in doing so, the twin who had all their strength taken, Lars, is dead. But Lucy figures she should be able to bring him back. While investigating everything, Natasha discovers Craig, frees him as well as anyone else she can, gets a drop on Living Blade. The two of them get another fight, which does not seemingly end well for Natasha, as the issue ends with her seemingly getting her arm cut off from about, here down. I don't mean just she got cut. I mean, well, you know what? Screw it. There. I think it looks like her arm getting cut off. I assume that's one of those that, I mean, hey, in superhero comics you can get better from stuff like that, but yeah, it's usually a story in and of itself. Anyway. Solid issue. I have to admit, I completely forgot who Craig was. As I recall, he worked for Apogee, and Natasha and Yelena were trying to get him to work with them, but yeah, I kind of feel like this is one of those reasons why comics should have a kind of dramatis personae page, kind of saying who's who in the book at the very front. And don't get me wrong, summaries are nice, but maybe, have like summary and credits on one page, turn the page, and then dramatis personae. But otherwise, a good issue. It's been interesting to see all the working parts in action. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Captain Marvel number 36. Where we left off, Captain Marvel had broken free of Vox Supreme's hold and had summoned help in the form of the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers, who were more than willing to kick Vox Supreme's ass up one side and down the other. And that's exactly what they do. But they're a little overwhelmed. When it's about a dozen superheroes taking on a superpowered army, they get a little over. Even if it's just the same, even if each soldier has the same power set, it's still a little overwhelming. But one of the black-suited Marvels is destroyed, and it turns out to be the sludge that Carol, Rhodey, and L'Oreal discovered on a few issues previously. So Carol's got a plan, has Moondragon pass along to everyone else. Everyone else is down. Then Emperor Hulkling shows up, having heard rumors of his father's return. Wanted to see if they were true or yet another lie. But and learning it's a lie, he offers to help. And the combined forces of the Guardians and the Avengers take on the Dark Marvels, while Tony Stark and Moondragon build a machine to take care of them all at once, which they pull off. The portion that was masquerading as Marvel is kept separate from the rest of the sludge, so that perhaps, as Hulkling puts, perhaps his father's DNA can be salvaged for a respectful burial. But Carol and her sentient energy form, her sentient and separate energy form, go after Vox Supreme. Vox Supreme's actually impressed by the energy form and tends to claim her. However, the energy form shouts no, and with cosmic energy flowing out of her mouth to seemingly destroy Vox Supreme. And the sentient energy form decides to take the name Binary. They're fairly certain that Vox Supreme is probably not dead, but which, to be fair, to be completely honest, kind of a not sure he's dead. That's not how things should. That should end with a not sure, but let's check and make sure. And but that's kind of what they're going to be doing, and with the Marvels will be sticking together to do just that. As it seems, the Vox Supreme may well be reforming, which is where the issue ends. I actually really enjoyed Last of the Marvels. It was a solid story arc. And despite my criticism of kind of just saying, I'm not sure Vox Supreme is dead, but basically kind of, honestly, he makes a good villain. So when a good villain gets away, it sucks, because it does kind of suck, because on the one hand you kind of want to see the villains kind of have their comeuppance for at least a little bit. But and what's even more fun is something like, oh yes, bad guy got put in super prison. Oh, but how did they break out? That's actually kind of fun to read. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Iron Man number 17. Where we left off, the Iron God Tony Stark had put everyone in Manhattan Island on the same intellectual level as him, including people who were already above his intellectual level, such as Reed Richards. But Hellcat was unsure of what was happening and looked for and asked Doctor Doom for assistance. And so we begin with a news report about what's happened since Iron Man made everyone smart. 34 separate diseases, 4 of them terminal, have been cured by physicians at Manhattan City Hospital. 11 other illnesses have also been cured by 3 cab drivers, 1 shoulder cook, and a septic plumber. The city's landfills began being converted today into a newly discovered renewable fuel source dubbed Refusium, created by 37-year-old longshoreman Greg Neighbors. 3 more new fuel pads have also been filed in Queens, the Bronx, and Long Island. Every New York school has now reported the highest average test scores in the world, near perfect, but students are walking out in record numbers. Bored with curriculums and feeling they no longer need schooling, all of them have placed out in aptitude equivalency. The stock market is massively destabilized by an influx of traders manipulating data in ways never before comprehended by banks and brokerage houses. Sparked a major international sell-off and could risk a steep recession in the U.S. Compounding economic turmoil is robberies at 5 separate flagship bank branches in Manhattan, including the Federal Reserve Gold Vault, all by what authorities are calling exceptionally brilliant and gifted thieves. Finally, 14 different New Yorkers have tried to take over the world in the last 72 hours. Their reasons and motivations vary. Tony has made a prison for those using their gift to cause chaos. A special holding area for those using their new intellectual prowess to violate laws. There's also his own determined code of morals and ethics. The police, the New York's law enforcement, has recently fallen to the Iron God and other heroes since nearly the entirety of the NYPD banded together to form their own private space program called Blue Moon. To prevent escapes from the prison, Stark has reduced the IQ of every prison inmate to 80. Also, the reporter, it turns out, is quitting her job because she's invented a method of space-time teleportation and just found an intergalactic shipping corporation that's already being valued in the trillions. And the reporter signs off by teleporting away. Doom sees all this and states that Hellcat's doing the right thing. And turns out she's gathered the space friends for a pizza party to discuss the whole, Tony situation. Doom explains everything, and there are, of course, arguments about the whole thing. The Silver Surfer shows up, also part of the whole equation. And yes, Tony is causing chaos, but with the snap of his fingers, everyone griping at him becomes a yes man, allowing him to work in peace. Tony goes to Hellcats to see his space friends, and yeah. While talking with Hellcat loses her composure and rips into him, which leads to Doom and Surfer showing up. Stark promptly takes them both out of the equation, and also takes down the space friends, including Gargoyle, whom he turns into stone and then shatters. Leapfrog, whom he simply just burns out. Human Torch, just takes out everyone very systematically, which leads to a one-on-one fight between Iron Man, or between Tony and War Machine, which Tony very clearly wins by punching War Machine's head 180 degrees. Hellcat bases, guess it's my turn, huh? But Tony doesn't want to. Doesn't seem to want to. Which is where the issue ends. I'll be honest. I've had my criticism of the series so far, but this has actually been kind of amusing. I still feel like a lot. Like they could have probably condensed this by at least 6 issues, but yeah. Anyway, it was an interest. The best part of the issue, honestly, was kind of the what's happened since Tony made everyone a genius. Moving on to our next book, we've got Phoenix Echo Song, or Phoenix Song Echo number 5. And don't be fooled by the appearance of Wolverine on the cover. The old knucklehead does not pop up in the issue at all. Forge does. Where we left off, however, the adversary was attempting to drain the Phoenix Force energies from Echo, and she was in the White Hot Room living out a fantasy world of sorts. River has followed her to the White Hot Room, having to basically stab himself to do so. She's got an opening at the gallery, but Forge also enters the White Hot Room because he has his method. He's got his own ways. Attacks the adversary. River does what he can to help Echo. She snaps out of the fantasy, sees what's truly going on, and River, Forge, and Echo stand against the adversary, who of course uses their usual dirty tricks. River's mom, Storm, but Echo ends up restoring. Echo and River go head to head against, or team up against the adversary, basically using River's ability to find ancestral lines, and Echo follows him to that at the beginning of time, reduces him to his essence, and makes it so he can never reform. Everything he did has been undone. So her family's fine. You know, quickly, yeah. But there is, however, one little problem. River kind of stabbed himself in the heart. But she brings him back, and in the present, her and Forge back at River's house. Echo and Forge talk. Forge even volunteers to help River. You know, coming back to that kind of messes with you after all. Asks if she'll be coming to the island. There's much to learn. She still has to learn. She says she doesn't think she needs lessons, but she'll be there. Forge then also speaks in River's defense, saying that River's a good guy. He messed up, but he tried to make it right. Adding that he once had the chance at a different future with someone he loved, and suggests that Echo not be like him and not blow it. So, but River and Echo kind of begin. It seems like they're beginning to have a relationship of sorts, even though there's a gigantic hole blown in River's house. They're going to start things with small, with lunch, which is where this series comes to an end. Not bad, not great, but not bad. I really kind of hate how they. I really do dislike the fact that Marvel kind of just did everything they possibly could to push the X-Men in the book when the only X-Men character with a major role was Forge. Which, to be fair, at the very least, Jean Grey should have had a somewhat major role. I mean, you know, when you think Phoenix, you kind of think Jean Grey. You know what I'm saying? But it's just Marvel's whole thing was trying to make the Avengers their flagship, so all major things had to be related to the Avengers somehow. Sorry, I'm a little bitter. Anyway, moving on to our last book for the moment, we've got Ghost Rider number 1. This is actually the legacy number. This is the 247th issue, which makes me wonder if issue 4 will end up being an oversized 250th issue. But anyway, so we're focusing on Johnny Blaze, formerly the King of Hell. He's in therapy. Got a nasty looking scar on his head. He tells his therapist when he drinks himself to sleep, his brain goes black like a midnight highway. He's nowhere. Just gone, hurtling through the great big nothing until dawn comes. And when he doesn't drink himself to sleep, the nightmares find him. He screams himself awake, sweats through his sheets, swings at shadows, and he says he's not safe to be around. So most nights he drinks whiskey. But apparently, a few months ago, he wrecked his bike, rolled 50 yards, fractured his skull, severe concussion, hematoma, bad swelling on the brain, 2 surgeries. Things haven't been right physically, emotionally, or mentally. His family was there for him, his community's been there for him. He's having hallucinations, though, and yeah. He apparently swung at the local sheriff. Neighbor states that she found her dog shoved in the mailbox, neck snapped, blood and whatnot all over him. Johnny goes to get his prescription filled and keeps walking. At the FBI headquarters, an Agent Wilmer is asking for a transfer. Because the paranormal unit itself is his problem. Explaining he's a black and white and by the numbers kind of guy. He likes the math to add up. He prefers the laws of physics and the periodic table to be on his side. And he goes on to say, put him on narcotics, tax evasion, terrorism, anything. He likes things that he can handcuff, talk to, lock up in a cell. But the director explains that when S.H.I.E.L.D. dissolved, the government wanted to reassign some of their agents, and the director didn't have a say in the matter when they were asked, when the bureau was asked to bring them on, including one in particular. That the one, Talia Warroad, is the agent in particular. She walks into the director's office, explaining she needs $500,000 in equipment and travel funds. The director explains that she's not sure how Fury did things over at S.H.I.E.L.D., and she simply states that she was a one-woman operation with a discretionary fund. And so the director asks her to describe her job, and she states that she hunts monsters. Now, part of Blaze's life, it means that Blaze's new life in suburbia means that his wife, Roxanne, and their kids are alive. Rather young, but yeah. As is Roxanne's father, Crash. In fact, Crash and Blaze run a garage together. But a stranger walks into town. A bit of a corrupting influence. Blaze is once again in therapy, talking, seeing some odd things though. The painting in the therapist's office looks odd, and the therapist starts asking some very strange questions. You know, things like how often Johnny and Roxanne have sex, what positions he prefers, and then the therapist becomes an eldritch horror, which Johnny attacks, and well, then she's back to normal, and he leaves, and the town's a burning mess. He gets home, briefly sees his family turned into eldritch horrors, and drinks some whiskey to get it away. When the mysterious stranger arrives and offers Roxanne his card, the tarot card of the magician. And the man explains that the Roxanne standing next to Johnny is not his wife, and the town that they're in is not his town. When Johnny asks who the man is, he says he's a scout sent by a group of night magicians to find him. When the sheriff hits the guy with his car, but as he's on the hood, being crushed by the hood, he reaches his hand out, which has a pentacle drawn on it. And Johnny takes it and becomes vengeance. He remembers everything. Sees all. He sees all the innocents who suffered while Johnny was away. And like I said, he becomes the Ghost Rider again. Now able to spew hellfire as well. Summons one of the demons and rides out of town on a bike that appears to be a combination of various Ghost Rider bike designs. Part of it appears to look like the Danny Ketch bike. The type of bike appears more of a Johnny Blaze type. And there are other aspects that seem to harken towards vengeance, as well as other spirits of vengeance. Other motorcycle riding spirits of vengeance. And Ghost Rider rides off in the night, saying that the only thing that feels certain is there is a such thing as monsters, and Ghost Rider is the worst of all. And that is where the issue ends. Yeah, okay, I'm on board. We've got our... So the story itself is being written by Benjamin Percy, who's currently also writing X-Force and Wolverine for Marvel. So he's good. I'd say he's been doing good work on those. Yeah, as I've mentioned, X-Lives ain't all that great, but it's honestly not terrible. X-Steps is, in my opinion, better, but yeah, still. If nothing else, I'm going to say Ghost Rider's in good hands. But that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying, live long and rock hard.